Hey, I'm here. It's time. Episode 2. Welcome, everybody. If you're here, let's see. Let's get some set up here. I'm excited about this. I have to produce and and do this all at the same time. So as soon as you go live, there's a couple other things that I got to do. And hang on, almost there. Let's see, where are we? We're live. We're live. Episode 2. Yeah, there we are. I found it. Okay. Excellent. So, who's here? Tracy, what's up? Dawn, Stephanie, excellent. How is everybody? Fantastic. All right. So, where did we leave off yesterday? We're playing with a game. Hey, Lynn. Good morning. How are you? Scosta Andrea's back. Hi. Couple things I learned yesterday about this thing is when I turned on the other camera, because I went back and listened a little bit. So I'm going to move this when we go, when I switch cameras. So today's goals, we're going to kind of do a review and just kind of clean up the notes. If you looked, I went to the website, and if you go to, actually, let me pull that up for you. And I should have had this up already. And hang on. Here we go. And here, and back over here, and there. So if you haven't had a chance to go there yet, there's my, well, I created a website. Well, I have a website. I didn't create one. I created a page specific to this event so that we can record, keep track of everything. So all the sketch notes that I did yesterday, and then I cleaned up those notes a little bit and then made images of them, put them out there, put the recording out there. So everything's going to be in one really cool place. Hey, Kelly, what's happening? So everything's in one cool spot. So we'll just do a running there. Whatever we create, graphics, all that kind of stuff, I'll just put out there. Now, what I'm not doing is instructions, right? So I don't know that we'll have time to do that live because you don't want to watch me do all that. So if you want to rebuild this on your own, you're just going to have to watch everything and just practice. That's all I can do because I don't have time to write up all the instructions on do this and then do that kind of thing. All right, so let's recap real quick. Let me switch over here. And is that camera working? Okay. So I got to thinking, get my toy out here. Pull my mic over. So there we go. So I got to thinking last night, yesterday. We've got five rings, right? That's our goal. That's our maximum. But we're going to build a game where the user can choose. Maybe they only want to start with 3. So in order to make sure those pieces work, I'm going to build the first prototype with 2 rings. Because if we can get this working, because we're going to interact with all 3, because remember the formula, 2 to the nth minus 1 is the minimum number of moves. So we've got 2, where n is the number of rings. So 2 times 2 is 4, minus 1 is 3. So the minimum number of moves with 2 rings is 3 moves. 1, 2, 3. Or if you want to go, let me do it this way. 1, 2, 3. That's interesting. Should this be the winning peg, or does it matter if the user stacks all of them correctly, but not on the last peg? Does this have to be the winning peg? Or can either one of those be the winning peg? That's an interesting observation. That's why we need to play, right? This is design thinking, right? You have to play and design, and you discover, because that right there is a new sort of epiphany, if you will, right? So And then the same thing with 3, and I got the math wrong yesterday on 3 rings. So it's 7 moves, not 2. So same thing, right? So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 5 rings is 31. So I think we're going to concentrate, we're going to focus our effort right here. If we get that working in storyline, then I think the rest will be, it's busy work after that. I'm pretty confident. And then we'll have to figure out how do we manage that multiple peg kind of thing. Okay, sound good? Yes? No? Yes? Okay, let's go back to our notes. Okay, now I can look back at the comments. Hang on. Guys, I wasn't paying attention to the comments. Thanks, Tracy. Yeah. Well, you know, I do this all the time. You know my work, Tracy. We've been friends for a long time. I get so wrapped up in my own little silos that I don't share as often as I should. Let's put it that way. But I do this anyway, and I've been thinking about this game for a while, for a couple months, and it was just a matter of figuring out a time. And I would have already started, but I thought, well, let me do it during the day and just invite folks in, and then we can do it that way. And yesterday went about 1 hour and 40 minutes. I think that's a good time, maybe 1.5 hours. A lot of folks just kind of drop in, and I got a few comments, and it was excellent. Come in now, you hang out for the whole time, or you drop in when you can, or you leave when you can, you come back. That's cool. It's all recorded. Doesn't matter. All right, let's pull up the, let's pull our notes up. Keep the momentum going here. Okay. And we'll give that a chance to load. I'm going to pause here for a minute because these transitions, I had the fade transmission set yesterday, and I noticed a lot of, there, that's coming in a little better. There we go. Get to hang out. Hey, Dawn, how you doing? Getting ready to hang out with some smart people. Yeah. Well, the smart people are the ones joining, and that's you included. All right, so if you notice from yesterday, I just kind of added some color to these, and one thing we got to fix is this math right here. There we go. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, minus 1 is 7. Excuse me. Okay. And then we kind of figured out sort of a strategy. I'm going to grab my green up here in this area. We kind of figured out a strategy on how we're going to approach this from our framework, minimum viable functionality, planning for visuals, and we might get to that today a little bit. The gameplay, point scores, we figured a little bit of that yesterday, and we hadn't really talked about graphics yet. And one of the things over here, we talked about 3 or 5, but I think what we want to do here now is update this graphic, and let's update this graphic and say user chooses between 2, 3, 4, or 5 rings. If we're going to do 5 as a maximum, then 2 or less would be, the same. I mean, we get the functionality working for 2, then it's just duplication of effort and a lot of busy work to get 3, 4, and 5 working. We need 5. What else did we figure out? We need 5 drag items, so those are our rings, maximum. And then based on user choice up here, we'll determine on how many of these will display or not. Now, what we figure when we get into storyline, we'll make a choice. Do each one of these, are they their own slide? So for those of you who are not familiar with storyline. We'll get into that, but it's a scene slide sort of metaphor structure. There's scenes, and then inside scenes are different slides. So do we make each one of these slides, or do we make them each layers, feedback, and then just hide and show the different rings based on the choice, which would involve some more variables. So we kind of want to think from a strategic, how do we update it? My first thought is to put each one of these games on their own slide. So we'd build one for two rings, and then we just copy that slide because all the functionality will be there. We bring it over, and then we'll add the extra ring, and then copy that one over, add the extra ring. You see that duplication of effort I was talking about? That's how you move fast in storyline. Get that minimum thing working, knowing that the rest of the work is just duplication. Don't overwork, don't overthink it. And while I'm really impressed with a lot of my participants I do in my workshops and some of the things they come up with, but then when I'm troubleshooting their work or trying to help them figure it out, they've really overthought. They put way too much thought into it, too many variables, too many slides, too many layers, and there's really a lot of simpler ways to do it. We'll figure all that out when we get there. The other thing we did is we need 15 drop targets, and they're transparent. And what we're going to do is they're going to, even though they're transparent, we're also going to hide them because storyline, when it's hidden, storyline doesn't know it exists. And then we'll use a trigger to turn them on and off based on how we want those things to land. That's my assumption. I'm just thinking that's how we're going to approach it. And we won't know till we get in there and we start prototyping and start figuring it out. We got 15 of those. And then the graphics, I made a note down here. We're going to make PNGs. We're not going to use storyline shapes. And that's because we want to plan for future use so that if we want to change the graphics, we just do a swap a graphic. We can't right click and change a shape. We have to actually go in and format each shape one at a time. But if we just do a right click, we can flip through them pretty quick. Okay, so what else did we do? And then we mapped out some extra stuff. Another thing I got to thinking about, we're going to do this today, is naming conventions. So naming conventions. Hey, Mike just joined. Or he joined a while ago and I'm just paying attention. Okay, so I got to thinking again yesterday. Now, I promise you I'm not doing any work after we get done with these live events. I can't help if I still think about it, though. I can't stop that. But one of the things I did think about is why are we using the letter T for naming convention? Right? So you see where I just scratched that out right there? Why are we using T? We already know it's a tower. We only have 3, A, B, and C. So we don't need the letter T. So it's just kind of keeping things clean and moving along real good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new screen and sketch out some ideas for our naming conventions. Now, we know we need our drag items. So our drag items, and now these are object names because these are going to be the graphics. Our drag items will be the graphic. And we want ring 1. Why do I want a 0, 1? I'm not going to have more than 9, so just ring 1, ring 2, ring 3, and ring 4. Let's see. And I just noticed something. Hang on. Almost there, hang on. I'm doing a lot of kind of narrating and talking and looking at the camera and noticed that there's no camera because I didn't have it turned Don't you love it live? Okay. So where was I? Ring 5. There we go. So that's our object names. These are object names. Now, whether we add additional states, object states to these, we don't know yet. I don't see that we're not going to add a hover state. We may have a disabled state or a hidden state. Hidden state's automatic. I'm not worried about that, but we may want to use a disabled state. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Right now, I'm not worried about it. They're just going to be all in a normal state. And then we need our drop targets. And these are, now we can use storyline shapes for these because they're going to be static. And all we need is some kind of landing. We just need some place for those graphics to anchor to. And that's the difference between a drag onto a drop target. And that drop target would then be the anchor. So we don't need a graphic for that. We can use shapes for that. And, excuse me. Now this is our naming convention for these because we got the 3 towers. So we're just going to keep this simple. A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. Now that brings me another question. We need variables too. Remember we were talking yesterday, we need a set of true-false variables to evaluate when a drag item is dropped on a drop target and, in that evaluation so it stacks. And because of that, we want to name those variables very similar to these drop targets. But we can use the same name. You can use the same naming convention for an object and a variable. It's not conflicting. The only thing is it might conflict you in your brain when you're looking at something that looks named exactly the same thing, but one's a variable and one's an object. So sometimes it's beneficial to keep the two separate. So variables, nobody's going to see the variable name, so we can add more. And because this is not something we're going to reference, we can get to that. And I'll explain what I mean here in a minute. So A2, because we're going to write down, oops, B2, B3, B4, and B5, and then C1, C2, C3, C4, and C5. So that's going to be our drop targets. And we need variables to match each one of those. So we need a set of variables, a minimum. Now, do we want to name our variables? Now, we know they're all true, false. Well, not all of them. Let's see. We might need other variables. We know we need this many variables right now. Let's just call these drop target variables. Because remember, we have one. We're going to do a number of plays, like a count, which is not associated with the drop target. We're just counting, so that's still a variable. It's just not in this little package. Now, here's the thing I was saying. I can name that variable a true, false. I can name that A1 a true, false variable, and I've got a drop target by the same name. Do I want to do that? It's up to you, right? It's your workflow. It's how you do things. It's your style, I guess you'd say. I know my style. I know those would confuse me. So I can go back over here and I can add a T to that object name. So that tells me that that's an actual object on the tower. And then I can keep the variables just a simple A1, A2, A3. Oh, you know what? I know what I'm going to do. I do this when I build drag and drop interactions, so I don't even know why. I'm just going to add the word drop right in front. And maybe add the word drag over here. You can't even read that right. I can't even read that writing. Drag ring 1, drag ring 2. So maybe we do something drop there. That keeps the objects. There we go. That makes sense. now I can see, because again, we get into storyline, when we name our objects in the timeline, those objects are referenced as we apply triggers to them. So we want to be able to have a good, um, the power of association, visual association. When I look at certain things, I want to be able to see the names and be able to connect and tie them together without having to do a whole lot of digging. Because when you initially put in shapes and like a rectangle 1, rectangle 2, rectangle 3, picture 1, picture 2, picture 3, they're there, but what does that mean to me from an interaction design? I don't know what picture 3 means to rectangle 4. So this is why it's important to think through this naming we can do this in storyline, but we'd end up going back and forth because we change up, we discover things along the way. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a drag ring and then drop A1, and then over here the variables, all true, false, we're just going to call these, we can keep these simple because nobody's going to see these. B4, B5, that's a C. C1, C2, C3, C4, and C5. And then the other variable we're going to call number of plays. And this is a number variable. And initial value equals 0. Because that's going to count our number of plays. That's pretty good so far. Am I missing anything? Can you think of anything? Oh, hey, David, what's going on, buddy? Your comment feed stopped updating? Anybody else not seeing the feed updating? Everything looks to be okay right here. Hey, there's my buddy Andrew. What's going on, guy? Happy Tuesday, everybody. Good here. Thanks, Dawn. Thanks, Tracy. David, you still having problems? Okay, good. Okay, so we've got through sort of this logic thinking of how we're going to set up these different drag items, drop targets, and variables, right? So right now, I'm going to go back and we want to think about that very first set of triggers, the gameplay. So I'm going to go back and pull up our yesterday. Let's go right here. And now remember what we've done is we've named these drag B5. We don't want to go back and redo this whole graphic, but that's kind of where we're at. So if ring 1, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to grab for each move, flip value variable, and then down here at the bottom is about counting a number of plays. So here's what I'm going to do. Make sure I'm going to grab this little section. Oh, lost it. Try again. Copy. Go back to our other one and paste it here. Okay, that's where I wanted. Now let's clean this up. Actually, I think I'm gonna rewrite this. Does it have the feed? I mean, it looks. Does it look okay to you guys? I just want to make sure. I got to pause. I get to moving too fast and. Okay. So we want to evaluate. That's our thing. Evaluate if ring one. Now we're calling it something else now, right? We're calling it drag spelling drag ring one. So if drag ring one is dropped on, and then we're going to change colors to red. Dropped on, what do we call it? Drop. B5. Is that what we called it? B5? Drop B5? Yeah. Or drop C5. Then change the state then change the state of drop C, come on, back up, B4 or drop C4 to normal. Okay, what did we just do there? What is all that mess right there? Now, if you're familiar with Storyline, we can't do an if then else right now. So what we have to do, this statement is actually multiple triggers. And we'll build that as we go in there, right? Because I can't do, I can evaluate that, but I have to do it with several triggers. So I have to evaluate one at a time. Is drag ring one dropped on drop B5? If so, then change B4 to normal. So that's one trigger. And then I would do the same thing for the other one. So that's essentially two triggers in that statement. I get it. I know what I'm doing. I get it, but I'll explain that when we get into Storyline. It'll make sense. Okay. Now, because of that, I don't need this. I just rewrote this. Oh, come on, we're going to spend the time erasing. Let's get rid of that. We don't need that. Okay. Now down here we've got this next. Assuming ring is on. Why did I write that? Assuming if ring 2 is dropped on C4 and ring 1 is on C5. Oh, that's our snapback, right? Because we can't put a higher ring on top of a lower ring. So we have to evaluate that as well. So that would be like the second move. This first statement is the first move. And then the second statement would be the second move. So we have to evaluate. We can't just let them like drop a ring in the air on the way up at the top of the tower and float. I mean, that's not how the game works. So it's got to appear like it's stacking. So we need to know every one of those drop target positions. We need to know which ones can be on and off at any one given time. Now remember, let's go back, and we'll talk about the prototype real quick. Webcam. So let's look at this gameplay again. Okay. So I'm going to move these 5 and just use these 2 for now, right? So that statement says we got to evaluate. Here's drag ring 1, and this is, remember the transparent shapes. We got to kind of think there's 5 transparent shapes here, and 5 here, and there's 5 here. So this is B5 down here at the bottom. This is C5 down here at the bottom. Now currently those 2 are normal, in a normal state, and the other 4 are in hidden states. So we don't want Storyline to recognize these because there's nothing here. So our first evaluation is if ring 1 is dropped on B5, then change this next state to normal. That allows me to put something on top of this. And then this one, we don't have to mess with it, right? Nothing's going on over here because we didn't do anything. And we do that same thing if ring 1 is dropped on C5, then change C4 to normal. And we're not going to mess with any of this. So we're just evaluating, that's that pattern we kind of discovered yesterday. Now our next evaluation is, let's say we're here. So now C4 is now normal, or excuse me, B4 is now normal. This is still activated over here, so this is normal already too. So C5 is normal, B4 is normal. We take ring 2, and now our next evaluation is same thing. We copy that same thing and we say, if ring 2 dropped on C5, change C4 to normal. Easy, right? We already did it here, we know that pattern. However, we have to also know if ring 2 is dropped on C4, because C4 is now activated, it's in normal. If it drops here and ring 1 is sitting down here, and that's where that variable comes in. We're going to flip that variable to true right here. And if that variable is true and we drop this here, then snap this back to its starting position and count it as a play. Or do we count it as a play? I don't know yet. Do you lose a move if you do it wrong? I don't know. Maybe. But you get that pattern? You see that gameplay? That's how we're going to do it. Those are the next two moves. Okay, let me put this back. Let me tell you what, spare wood out in the garage. Build a little prototype like that. It really comes in handy, when you're trying to figure these kind of things out. So, okay, I'm getting back to the thing here. Oh, hey, Mark, what's going on, buddy? Thanks for joining. David, normally I feel smart, not smart. Oh, stop, David. Thanks. That's mighty kind of you. David is joining us. I just met David a couple weeks ago in Boston, fellow Lego Serious Play facilitator and adult fan of Lego. And he's got this amazing collection of Lego. And he does all these mocks. So, and David, this is typically a lot of my crew in this industry, the learning and development, online learning experience designer kind of stuff. So y'all say hi to David. And David, Tracy in the feed, I don't know if she's still here with us, but Tracy's also huge. She's up in Canada, and she's gonna, I think she's gonna try to get in touch with Kristen up there and get involved. Okay, so oh, excuse me. Let's go back to where we're at here. Evaluative drag ring 1 is dropped on. We figured that out. Now we have to do this other evaluation. Evaluate if drag, I keep spelling that wrong. Drag ring 1 no, evaluative drag ring 2 is dropped on, and this is same as up here, drop, it'll be drop B4 or drop C4. Are you tracking with me? You got your brains turned on? So if ring 2 is dropped on B4 or C4, because we already turned one of those normal here at the up here at the top, this first statement. The second statement is asking now if we take ring 2 and drop it on B4 or C4, and again, this is going to be two triggers, multiple triggers, and drag ring 1 drag ring 1 is, no, we don't need, no, hold on. Aha, wait a minute, back up. Rewind. We forgot a step. We forgot a step. The next step is adjust the variable. Adjust our variable. And what do we call it? A1. And let's give variable a green color. A1 equal to true. When drag ring 1 is, I think this is going to work. I'm questioning something right now, but I can't. It's not clear. It's not coming clear to me in my thought right now. But there's something missing here, and I can't see it. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's coming together here. So we're going to adjust the variable A1 to true when drag ring is dropped on. Drop. No, this should work. Drop is dropped on. Drop B5 or drop C5. And again, these are going to be more than, there are going to be several triggers here so that's, we have to flip that variable first before we can get down to the next evaluation. So evaluate drag ring 2. Now we need to evaluate drag 2 is dropped on either B4 or C4 and A1 is equal to true, or wait a minute, it's not A1 equal to true, it's and if, wait a minute, evaluate if drag ring 2 is dropped on B4 or C4, yeah, and A1 is equal to true, then snap drag ring to back to its starting position. So snap back to start position. And that's wherever it came from. Shazam. There. Now, if I'm thinking correctly, we're just going to repeat those 3 statements and change up the object names and change up the variable names. And if we can get that working right there and then duplicate that for each tower, I have an assumption that's our pattern. And then we just have to do it 100 times or more as we get into the build. This is the important thing. Now, this is a lesson here. If you're in the storyline, a lot of times we get into the story when we start tinkering or we start moving things around. Next thing you know, 4 hours are gone. Now, we've only spent an hour and a half. Yesterday, we got, 40 minutes here. We had just a couple hours in design. And I'm talking and sharing, kind of doing some other things. So if we was just focused, I could probably knock this out in about 45 minutes to an hour. Get all this thought out of my head, just a really good focused thought. And then go into storyline, build a prototype, and I would argue that you could put this together from scratch, free thinking, throw some notes down, and then go to storyline. And you'll shave half of your project development time in half because you're designing before you're developing, especially something this complex. You get into storyline, you're distracted. You got all the other things in the way. You can't see. This is your focus. There's nothing in your way right here. It works for me. I'm just saying. I've been doing this for a number of years, and this is the workflows and things that I've set up, and it seems to work for me. So I'm just sharing what works for me. It's your style if it works for you or not. But it's worth trying, right? Let's get rid of this. And for each move, flip the value variable and change the state of drop chart. Yeah, we know about that. That's what we just did in the... that's our pattern. We'll leave the pattern note down there. That is our pattern. So we'll leave that there. Okay. That's some good notes there. What do you think? Am I missing anything? Can you think of anything else? I'm just going to put... I added this last night too. Episode 2. Sketch. We're only doing one sketch so far. Sketch 1. 8, 17. Okay. I am not, Tracy. Okay. I think we're getting really close. I'm excited about getting into storyline. What time? We got only in 45 minutes. We can, but we're not going to go there yet. We're not ready. What? Why not? We're not ready. We have to go build some assets. We need some graphics. Hang on, I'm setting up another. See, this is I'm wearing the producer hat at the same time here. So hang on, I'm almost there. Oh, that flipped upside down. All right, producer. Oh my gosh. Okay. Just get that big mug up here in the face there. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to go into Illustrator and we are going to create some graphics. Now remember yesterday we talked about doing a 4:3 ratio. So we're just going to go into Illustrator and create a 1024 by 768 sort of stage. And then we can just start laying out, because what's fun about working in Illustrator and matching the same aspect ratio as what you're going to intend on building in storyline is that you can lay out your composition, get your things in place and things like that. Now we're not doing any fancy graphics. We just get some prototype stuff in place. But we need some colors. So this is kind of cool. Anybody heard of the app called Adobe Capture? Anybody heard of that app before? Oh, I keep changing. Hang on just a minute. I'm sorry. I keep changing the wrong window, wrong camera. Let's go here. And I did it again. Hold on. Gosh. Crumb nuggets. Okay. Mac cam. That camera. Now let's pull this one down. There we go. Holy cow. Okay. Shazam. There we go. Hey Charles, what's going on, buddy? Can you repeat the tip about why you are using PNGs? It was a great tip for anyone that wasn't here yesterday. You bet. So PNGs, for what Tracy was just saying, is that in Storyline, think of PowerPoint. Storyline uses a lot of the same APIs. So it's very familiar with the PowerPoint sort of ribbon toolbar, and brings over a lot of the shapes and stuff like that. So when you put a shape in PowerPoint and you want to change the shape, you can format the color, and there's some other things you can do. But if you change the entire theme, you have to replace the shapes with new shapes. Same thing in Storyline. But if you use PNGs or JPEGs or some kind of an image graphic, and you want to change the theme, the look and feel, then all you got to do is just do a right click, change picture. And then all of your underlying functionality, naming conventions, object names, variables, all that stuff we just mapped out, none of that is affected. So I can change the whole look and feel. So we're going to build the first one with a set of graphics, and then as we get towards the end, then I'll go in and I'll create a second set of graphics, and I'll show you. So here's how we can change the whole look. We can theme it a different way. So right now, we're gonna. That's what Tracy? You knew that. I think you were just helping me help everybody else. But that's why. Adobe Capture. Anybody heard of that tool before? You got to have a Adobe CC Creative Cloud subscription. But if you do this kind of work a lot, it's fantastic. So Adobe Capture. So here it is. And let's see. Okay, hold on. Is it coming up? There it comes. There's a delay, so I don't know what I'm saying versus what you're hearing at the same time. And okay, Adobe Capture. Now, what we want to do is we want some colors. So here are some color palettes that I've created. And we need 5 colors. This is kind of interesting. We need 5 colors. So 5 rings, 5 colors. Some just like shades of, blues or whatever, right? So what's interesting is I don't want any of these. I'm going to grab, actually, let me flip my camera. No, we can do it right here. It's fine. Because you're going to see this come up. I tested this earlier, and I think it's going to work. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new one. So I'm going to click on this plus button at the bottom, and I'm going to use the camera. All right, so I'm just kind of going around my desktop here. So if I just show my keyboard, I'm going to hold steady here, let the feed catch up. Can you see that? I'm trying to hold steady here to get the feed from, I don't know what the camera is. But see all the color dots that are moving around on the picture? Those are the 5 colors it's finding in that camera, in that image. So as I move, the colors change. So I can find a nice color palette just by taking the camera. Now I'm on my iPad right now, but this is an app. I use it predominantly on the iPhone. But if I scan over here, yikes, and I take a picture over there of my classic TV trays and Incredibles poster, but look at the colors that are coming up. That's kind of interesting. Isn't that cool? That's one way. That's one way you can take it from a picture, or from the camera, or you can take it from a picture. And my grandbabies visited me yesterday, and I got a really cool picture of them. And now, since we have 5 rings in just a gray tone, we've got 5 colors right there. Bam. I didn't have to work very hard. I mean, you can't beat that. If you're looking for 5 quick colors, you go take a picture, pull it up, kabam. So we're gonna use those 5 colors for our rings. Now I just hit the camera, the button over there on the right. I'm gonna just snap it, and there's my colors. And I'm not. You can adjust these or play around with these and kind of fiddle with them, but I like those 5 right there as they are. And then I'm gonna go next, upper right corner, and there's the name. So let's give it a name, and we're gonna call this. We're gonna call this the. We'll just call this the grandbabies. This is the grandbabies gray tone. That's the name of this color palette. And then just below that, you'll see it says the CC library. Now, there's several libraries that I've created, but I want it in my color library. And then make discoverable, meaning that anybody in the cloud can find this color palette. Unless, I don't know why you would keep color palettes private, but you could. So if you look at the bottom now, it says save color theme. So I'm going to hit save. And no thanks. And then here's my color, upper left, that's the new color theme. Grandbabies gray tone. So that's kind of cool, but hey, you know, it gets better. So watch this. Now, we are going to let me set it up. Hang on, I'm almost there. There we go. And set it up. Now, just a moment, folks. I'm producing and we're doing live and producing at the same time. Okay. So we're switching devices. We were using the iPad to do our notes and everything, and we just grabbed a color theme. And now we are going to switch over to the Wacom. I think it's Wacom tablet. And so this is a different device. If you can see that, Wacom. It's upside down, but it's just if you don't use a Wacom tablet, it's not whether you can. It's not about artistic style or you're an artist or anything. This you can move so much faster with one of these than you can a mouse. I'm just telling you. This particular device that I'm using right now, I received as a birthday gift over 10 years ago, about 10 years ago, and I've had 0 problems, none whatsoever, except this. The rubber wore off of the tip, and this is the same tip from 10 years ago. I haven't changed the tip on this. Same one. Highly recommend. Okay, so now we're going to, where are we at with time? Coming up on an hour. I think we get these graphics created. I think that's a good stopping point after we get these graphics created. So we have Illustrator And I'm going to create a new four by three ratio. Do I have one in here? There's 800, 1280. Let me create a new one. 1024 by 768. We're going portrait or landscape. We only need one artboard. We're going to keep with the RGB colors and create. There's our board. Kind of need to move this out of the way just a little bit. All right, so the first thing, what's fun is when we look at our swatches. Let me pull this up. Whoops. Our swatches. And then all the way down here at the bottom, you see down here it says libraries, down here in the lower right. I'll pull up my libraries. And where's my libraries? Come on, here they come. And I want the oh, come on, where's my color library at? All libraries. Oh, here. All right, hold on. And color. There we go. Look, there it is. Grandbabies. I'm going to put this over here. Well, this just ain't working now, is it? I don't want to add these to my... Why isn't this working? You get the idea. Here's my colors, darn it. They're not changing, though. Let me figure this out here. We're live. There's somebody... Is Greg in here? Create new library. No. I want to get this into my swatches. Why isn't that not getting into my swatches? New swatch, new color group. Grandbaby's color, there's this one, white, and I want this color. Oh wait, I want this color, come on. Oh, goodness sakes. Well, I'll figure that out later. I'm wasting time. I know the colors are there, so let's just get to building. How about that? I tested everything up to that point. So anyway, it's all good. All right, so quick, and I'm not going to teach you Illustrator. I'm just going to kind of pull up some stuff. There's my grid. I'm going to grab some graphics. See, it's 4x3, so that looks like a good starting point there. It's width. Let's make it 800 by, what's saying, 75, 76, 72. Let's go with that. And do I have snap to pixel? I want to snap to grid as well. So, and we want to center it. to the artboard. So I'm going to just pop it over to the center like that. And that's our base. Now it's 800 wide and we got to divide it by 3 times. Not going to get into all the math about it right now, but we need our towers. And we'll get something going here. And you know what? I'm going to use the grid anyway. Slide this over. There. Is that centered? Yep, that's good there. And I'll do another one. Roughly, I don't know if that's going to be what we need just yet. I'll line these up here in a minute. And then these are going to be our rings. So what I need to do is figure out, I'm going to change the color on these just a little, just some other color right now. What am I looking for? High grid, show. Now how wide is that? How wide is that ring there? We've got 258. We can probably go to 250. 250 by 56 maybe, 54. It might be too thick. Let's go 48. Why am I doing 40? Why am I doing odd number 48? Because, interesting again, because we want, it's pixel, right? And I'm not going to get into the 8-bit bytes, pixels and all that kind of math, but when you're using text with your graphics, text is in points, which is equivalent to a pixel. So like a 12-point font, a 15, 18-point font, and there's a 48-point font. So if we keep our graphic similar to the same size as font points, and I want to put text in here, then I can do a 24-point, and then I can center it on the graphic, and it looks nice and even. I didn't think there was all this kind of thought to these kind of things, did you? We'll center all that up here in a minute. And this one is, we're going to just drop it down by, keep it the same height, and we're going to drop it down by 50. Let's see if we can get all 5 in here. We'll drop this one down by 50. Whoops. That should be 150. And this one is 100. Okay, this is boring. I know you guys are like, what are we doing? I actually like this as the top one. I don't want to get any smaller than that, so I'm going to go grab this one and come down here and add 50 to this one. Like that. So let's grab these 5, cut them out. I'm going to come over here, create a layer, put them back in spot. That's 250. Oh, that should be 300, not 350. There we go. That looks better. Now, I'm going to lock this bottom layer real quick just so I can grab these, and we're going to line these to the center so they're all nice and lined up. I lined it to the artboard again. Not that I wanted to. So that's how that fits. Now here's, when it comes to graphics, it's hanging over the edge. We're not going to have enough room. So what we need to do is I'm going to grab a couple more here, and we're going to see how well this fits. We might be too big. Now if we take all of this and slide it over. Now keep in mind, we have to make room for a header and some other graphics, our scoring, you know, some other dashboard kind of things. So we need to be able to, this is where we kind of position things. So I'm thinking this might be, so here's another trick. You know, I want to center all that. I'm going to group all of those together in one group and then center the group, and then the whole group moves. Okay, so that's centered. Now I need to come down here in my our actual game board, whatever you call it. And we need to give it some width. So if that one's lined up there, and this one is lined up here, because remember we're doing 5, so even if I do 2, or I have to be able to accommodate all 5. So we're lining up everything, and let's get these 2. Now I'm going to grab those, so I got to change. I don't want to align to this artboard. I want to align to selection, because I've selected those 2 objects, those 2 shapes. And then you notice how they're not the same. One's a little lower. So I'm going to align these to the center, and that way they stack in there real nice. And then we're going to bring this one down. And let's make sure they're nice and aligned, just to be sure. They are. Now I'm going to distribute evenly. This one and this one should be, no, they're not centered. So that's that one. That one's centered. Now over here we have distribute. I want to distribute evenly. And this alignment stuff, I'm not as good at it as some others are. I know Greg is not here with us today, but he's my sensei when it comes to this stuff. Okay, where am I at? Let's see. I just grab this over here. We'll do it this way. Align to artboard and center. My alignment, something's not working. I don't know if it's the stream or what, but my guidelines, I'm not seeing my guidelines. Snap to, yeah, see I'm not, well, we're getting close. All right, so I'm gonna hide this, the ring stuff. Now here's where we're gonna make this one graphic. So I'm gonna grab all of these and then go over here to my Pathfinder and then shape modes. PowerPoint actually has one of these, you know, combine union. I'm gonna combine all of these into one shape. And now I can change the color. Let's give it, and we're just playing around here. We're just gonna start with some kind of a, I'm trying to look for like a nice, I don't know what I'm looking for. I guess I'm thinking wood. Maybe that color. There we go. Ah, you know what? No, we don't need anything. We're good. I was thinking we need these towers as individual objects, but we're not applying any triggers or anything. This is just how things are going to land. Let me turn these back on for a minute. Let me see. Yeah, I got plenty of room. So what I want to do now is get a letter. And let's see, what do we want for a font? Let's use a nice slab. I like Brie. See, there's that points I was telling you about a minute ago. So there's that 48. And we're going to do 24 for now. And we're just going to set this in here. So there's our A tower. Now we might change these graphics up later. This is prototyping. I'm just getting a set of graphics, and I might use these in the end. I don't know. But if I want to theme these, I want to be able to come back and easily update this graphic and change it out. So I might not be thinking through this as much as I should, but I think for the purposes of what we're doing, it should be fine. Okay, there's our tower, and and now I want now this is where I want my library, my color palette here. Oh, now it works. Well, now it works. Okay, there we go. There's this one. And then I think it's this color. They're not necessarily in order. And then this color, and then there. Grandbaby gray tones. I don't need this one, and I don't need that one. And I want to put a... Now here's the other thing. We need to distribute these to new layers. So I'm going to take this one and put it up here. We're going to take this one, put it up here. And I'll tell you why I'm doing this here in a minute. And 4, and then I need one more here. Cut that out, come into 6, paste that one there, and then we're going to come in and we're going to call layer 6 ring 5, ring 4. You know, for those of you new to Storyline, and I've been around this kind of work more, so this is in my brain. I have to. It's like 2 different languages. This is layers in a like Photoshop and Illustrator. This is how a layer works. In Storyline, the term layer is completely different definition. Means something completely opposite of anything remotely related to what these type of layers are related to. So you have to kind of think. And we talk about layers, and in here I talk about layers. It means 2 different things. And then this is our base. Good enough. Okay, now back here. And now I'm going to add some more. This is ring 1. And we want this to be the number 1. And we're going to come in here. I want that one a little bigger. Let's go. Let's see what I'm going to do. What's 36 look like? Yeah, it fits nice. Now see, at the same time, we want to be able to, these want to be big enough to where we can use our finger on the iPad. We're going to be able to drag with our fingers. We want these big enough for that. These might not be at this prototype stage, and if not, it doesn't take much to increase them. But we won't know until we get in and we start testing. And I don't know that I like the borders and different things around them. In fact, I think I'll take the borders. Well, I don't know I know we're going to need a different color. Let's see if white. Oh, no, not that. I don't know. Again, well, you know, we're not going to be doing prototype. That's all we're doing. And this is, I'm the worst at this. I'll get into this and I'll go down a rabbit hole so fast and lose track and stop. I'm trying to design the graphic, the overall visual theme, knowing that I'm really not there yet, and I got to stop. I'm just building. I just need something that's, you know, a good prototype looking. So I think that's our graphics for now. That's all we need just to get started. No, wait a minute. We need, oh, we're going to do shapes in there. What size is this one? Again, that's 300 by 48. So here's the fun part. Going to hide all these. And then we're going to go export. And where am I going with all of this? Let's go to Dropbox and let's create, no, let's go to, I think it was here, yeah, Storyline Live, and I'll just put graphics right here for now. Actually, it's going to be assets. And then this is going to be, what was this? It's the base. And now here's the other thing. I got it set at 72 DPI. And that's really all we need because of what we're going to be using it for. But I can do a high res. And a lot of times I'll do a 150 and then it's going to come in really big in Storyline. But because it's a higher resolution, then when I reduce the size, then it stays nice and crisp. So if we want to add photographic type graphics and things like this later, we can. But right now I'm just going to do 72 DPI. And it keeps file size small as well. So we got the base, and now we just turn one of these on at a time. Oh, you know what I did? I know what I did. I didn't do what I should have done. This should be in layer 5. This should be in layer 4. I put all the numbers in the same layer. Go back. There we go. Now we get rid of that. Export. And this is ring 5. Yeah, we're going to name our objects differently in Storyline. I was thinking about naming it drag, but I don't want to name that here. And we just do one at a time. Now, I don't know if there might be a faster way to do export layers as, I'm sure there is. Hey, Monte. Hey, Garrett. My son's joined again. That's the colors, Garrett. We just create, I don't know if you were here, but we have the grandbaby's gray tone. And it's that black and white picture I took yesterday. And we created a color palette based off of your daughters. So there's a little bit of family influence in this design. Ring 3. And where are we at? Okay, ring 2, ring 1, we're almost there. And ring 2. And that should do it. And then I'll save this Illustrator file. so that we maintain the integrity of the edited, the graphic file. And so we save this now. And we'll just call this our Tower of Hanoi. Throw the word source. I always throw the word source on there. That way I know that particular file is not a production file. It's where I collect a bunch of, I might have different artboards and multiple layers, but all the graphics in that source might be used for different things. So it's just a style, just a technique that I use. Okay, we'll turn those back on. And there's our base game stuff for now. That's all we need. Well, we'll clean that up later. But we're good. We're good there. What time we got? Hour 20. Hey, that's a good spot to stop. Because then, man, we're not going to get in storyline today. I didn't figure we'd get there to Wednesday. I really didn't. It's just a lot. So if we let's see, hour 40 yesterday, hour 20 today. What's that? 3 hours. So we did a 3 hour, and it probably won't take that long if you do it by yourself and you're really just focused on thinking. But let me pop this back up here. And there we go. So, yeah, so so we got 3 hours invested so far, and I think we got a really good design. I think we've got our pattern figured out. We've got some of our logic figured out, if not all of it. We know there's going to be duplication of effort. We've got fundamental naming conventions figured out. We've got an approach to what we want to do, and we got some basic graphics to get this thing working. So just me talking and sharing and showing and producing flipping cameras, it took 3 hours to get to this point. I'd argue that if you're doing this by yourself, or if I was doing it, you can cut that time in half, hour and a half to put all that together. And then I would think Wednesday, tomorrow, I'm optimistic we'll get a working prototype for 2 rings tomorrow. I'm pretty optimistic we can knock that out. And then Thursday, we'll go the rest of the week. The goal is to build this thing with 5 rings all the way through and kind of show you how we can set it up in such a way to where you can swap graphics out and things like that. So if I do any more work on the graphics, I might clean these up for production. But for prototype purposes, I think we're fine. We got everything we need. So excellent. Thanks for joining, everybody. Please share. Let everybody know. Who was it yesterday? Garrett, was it you that said Studio? No, it was Greg or you. Nug Life or Studioz Live or Studioz Live. I like Studioz Live because that keeps everything common. Nug Life is kind of fun too. But I don't know. It's one of those things you start using a hashtag and you kind of committed. Plus, I need to check with Jane because she's probably going to charge me $9.99 for creating my own hashtag without permission. It's kind of an inside joke for those of you who didn't know what that means. Yeah, Garrett, so what we're going to do, one of the other plans too is we're going to, when I get the prototype working, I'm going to send the link out to all of you or just whoever's in and put it on the website so that you can play with it and tinker with it and tell me what doesn't work, what works, what am I not seeing, what are we missing, what else can we add to it, all of those things, so we get sort of a crowd feedback kind of involvement, collaborative feedback kind of going, and then hopefully, and then share, we get done, we just put everything up on the website and you all download it, take it apart and rebuild it if you want. So how fun are we going to have? Excuse me. All right. That's it for today. We're going to call it. So keep practicing deliberately and you'll get there. If you got any questions, just holler at me. Just shoot over there. Don't forget, if you haven't already, tell your friends, go subscribe so that we get more folks in here and share the love. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time. Bye-bye.